right, it says we're live. Hello, Pauline.
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think people are tuning into this from quite a few places.
Mhm.
Today, we're going to be talking today about milestone-based prizes, right? So this is it's Friday. This is still the pre-builder competition, pre-hacking period that we are running for Wormhole Sigma, and it features a number of different topics that we kind of wanted to cover before everything kicks off, so that even when people start building and diving in, there's resources and material that folks can view. So um, today's session is going to be about milestone-based prizes. And this week we've heard technical sessions, non-technical sessions, marketing, branding, community, loads of things, right? Now, Sigma is set up so that it has milestone-based prizes, and I think it's a very unique aspect to it, right? So that we get to dive into it a little bit else. I don't know, Pauline, have you ever seen an event like this to feature milestone-based prizes? I
Mm,
can't recall one, to be honest.
I'm no, I think it was not probably the industry has learned over the few years that dropping a massive amount of money on a lot of bounty hunters was maybe not the most efficient way to create a technical community that is quite loyal to you. So I have seen many ways to do it, but I think the milestone is becoming. I think Sigma is one of the first, but like I think a lot of other protocol are starting to initiate this kind of way of incentivizing the builder, because I think it's better for everyone. Actually, I think it's not just better for the protocol, but also for the builder. I think you learn to really put yourself into the role of a startup founder, right? Like you're not just here. I mean, to be fair, I have given a lot of grants to people, and once they receive the money for 2 weeks, they're on vacation. So I was like, okay, maybe we can find a way um, to do that a bit differently. And I think actually it's a much better way. And I did also a lot of hackathon for Bounty. Like I played guilty for a few of
Yeah,
them,
you're
but
you're part of the problem here.
yeah, no, I mean, I just want to be honest. But yeah.
No, for sure. So I think you touched upon this is a good kind of cliffhanger. Let me share my slides. I've prepared a few things. We're gonna try to run through these present slides. No, present screen. All right. Okay. Right. Cool. All right. So I think you can see this, right? Just to double check. Yeah. All right, before diving into the actual meat of it, I wanted to take a little bit of a step back and explain some of the things that you, Pauline, already touched upon, which is this longer term vision that we have of what we're actually doing here. And the embodiment so far is what we call the Sigma Startup Program. So Sigma has actual three components. Sigma Sprint, what we're all currently engaged in, is just one of them. Sigma Sprint is the builder competition. That's going to be followed by an accelerator, which is being put on by our friends at Encode Club. In fact, we had Omji yesterday on to talk a bit about narrative building and all of that, right? So the Sigma Sprint and Sigma Accelerate part form two really good coherent entities, but then we're also including Sigma Seed, which is essentially, we're working together with Borderless Capital to provide early stage funding to some of these teams, right? So again, if you try to take a step back, this is essentially what you were saying, Pauline. We're looking at this from a lens of how do we build a startup ecosystem here, as opposed to, oh, here's an event. How do we put money into it to attract some developers, right? Because in the matter of fact, it's actually very expensive and very resource intense in general to do all of these things, right? So you got to be very, very purposeful and mindful of what you're actually doing. So anyways, in a nutshell, that's pretty much the setup within which we are doing these things. And like said, Sigma Sprint is the one that is kind of coming up on Monday. Is going to start officially on Monday, and is going to last for about 3 weeks until November 3rd. So this is the actual building period of it. Now, coming to the actual milestone-based prizes, what does that mean? How are you setting these up? All of these details. I'm going to go into all of them, and maybe at the end we can have some time for Q&As, discussion, and so on. Let's see. All right. All right. Milestone-based prizes. Let's have a look. So within Sigma Sprint, there's essentially two ways for developers, builders, founders to win prizes. One is via the main tracks, which have two components for new projects and for existing projects, and via sponsored tracks. We're fortunate enough to be working with Solana, Sui, and Circle as our sponsors. And the main takeaway here is that all of these things are composable. So you as a developer, you can actually tap into multiple ecosystems, use different technologies, and win several different prizes, right? So you could win maybe a Circle and a Solana prize and still compete for a main prize within one of the main tracks, right? The idea is to kind of provide incentives for developers coming in to explore different ecosystems. Because at the end of the day, that is what Wormhole does, right? We're the interop, we're the connection layer between all of these ecosystems. So there's two main tracks that we have, like I said. One is for new projects and one is for existing projects. I'm not going to go into too much details here because on Monday we actually have a kickoff and we're going to repeat some of this information. But just so that you know, if you're a new project that hasn't been built in the past, this is the track for you. If you're a project that has existed before and that you have maybe not included Wormhole in your project as of yet, you want to make that upgrade, this is what you can submit to. But also if you've built something in the past and have maybe, let's say you won one of the previous Wormhole hackathons, you've built an MVP, now you want to continue building that, right? We don't want you to discard that work. We want you to kind of incentivize you to continue building on that. This, again, is the track that you would be making a submission to.
I just want to add something in here because we had the situation in the hackathon before. Please, if you actually, I mean, the new project track, it's from scratch. It means that you don't have a GitHub repo. You've created it for that project. So it's very important, and also it's very fair for someone that is starting and build something in 4 weeks that they don't compete also with someone that has been building previously. And I think we will be very fair on how we judge those two category. But when you get to the existing project, because the problem is it's a lot more work for us because we will verify everything, right? So we came across a few times the problem that people have put their project in the new track, and obviously we are developer, right? The judges, so we could see in the GitHub repo that most likely this was not done from scratch. On, you know, if I see a commit of 4,000 line in one day, it will be very difficult for me to believe that was done in one day. Okay, so it could happen that you made a mistake, but it really makes our life easier if you just do it as, you know, fair and square. And then I think it's also better for each participant to feel like that. So in the existing project, if you have a doubt, please come to us and ask the question in the Discord, because sometimes it can be existing. There's existing and existed. There's someone that's built something that is fully functioning with the front end and the back end, and there's someone who maybe, I mean, has a repo that is completely, you know, that's like 4 lines and a README. We can assess that, right? So if you are in the case that you are unsure and it's not very clear to you, please come to us, ask the question before you actually submit your project.
Yeah, exactly. We do realize this is a bit of a maybe unconventional setup, right? But because usually you would see a DeFi track, an NFT track, a DPIN track, or whatever the hot topic is, right? But I think, I don't know, we took a step back and we said, hey, that's kind of maybe not the best approach, at least for us, right? So this does make sense. Yeah, and thank you for adding that context here. So looking at the main tracks, this is the prize distribution. You can actually find this in the participation guide. I think it's on the website as well. So this is publicly available information anyway. So there's 5 places, 5 winners in each of the tracks. So on the main, on the new tracks, and on the existing tracks. But here's the that's not even the catch, right? But something that maybe we really need to clearly communicate. After the builder competition finishes, what the prizes that are going to be paid out immediately are actually what we call milestone 1, right? So this is the actual prize after the builder competition, whereas the rest are the actual milestones. So stuff that you're going to be building over a longer time period beyond just the what is it, October 14th to November 3rd period. So milestones 2, 3, and 4. In total, these milestones make the actual total prize amounts that you see on the right-hand side. So here's the process. And I do realize it's 10 bullet points. There's quite a lot of text, but I promise it is not that difficult. And I purposefully put a bit more information here if people want to kind of digest this later on. All of this is going to be available on the participation guide as well. If not today, maybe on Monday, right? But it's going to be available for everybody. So in a nutshell, here's what's going to happen. When you make a submission, as part of the submission form, you're going to also be asked to submit your milestone proposal plan, right? Keep in mind, this is a proposal. It kind of needs to be approved. We're going to review it and so on. But generally, about 2 weeks after the winners are announced, we're going to get back to you with something, right? Either we're going to say, hey, we looked at this, looks good, please continue, right? Looks fantastic. Or we're going to get back to you and say, hey, here's a couple of things that we noticed. Maybe you need to add some more information. Maybe, you think this is not realistic. You're not going to be able to achieve this. Let's have a discussion. So some sort of feedback loop is going to be happening. Now, if adjustments are needed, you're going to take your time, make those adjustments, come back to us, and we're going to approve that milestone. After that, you basically get to work, right? You start working, you work on your submission, and we're also going to set up a cadence of check-ins, most likely bi-weekly, monthly, or something along these lines, for basically just to check in, see how you're doing, if you need any help, need any support, and so on, right? To keep an open line of communication. Once you're done with the milestone, you make a submission to us and say, hey, I'm ready. Here's what I've built. Here, what documentation I wrote. Here's the features that I built, whatever that is in your following your milestone plan. We're again going to take up to 2 weeks, evaluate it, come back to you, and say, hey, this is good. Please continue. Right? We make the payout, or we get back to you and say, hey, this needs a little bit more work. This is actually not in line with it. Please make the revisions. So there's another feedback loop that's going to be happening. Once that happens and milestones are approved, the payouts happen, and you continue working on your next milestone, and the whole process repeats. Right. So, like I said, there's a lot of words on here. There's a lot of information, but generally the process should be fairly intuitive and fairly simple. We do follow generally accepted processes for grants in this case. I see a question around deadlines or a time plan. Let me get to you in a second. I think it's actually on the next slide. Is this milestone points from 1 to 10 for winners or for participants?
It means, does it apply to you once you have win the hackathon, or is it required for everybody that is going to submit?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Understood.
The slide.
Understood. Let me run through this, and I'm going to answer because it might be within this slide. So once you make the submission, right, there's going to be a submission portal that you can access, and it's essentially a nice looking form, right, that you go through. That is for the builder competition. It's got all the information, and on Monday we're going to cover that as well. But there's going to be a very specific section covering your milestones, the milestone plan. So there's a couple of pieces of information that we need: the milestone title, the objectives, the description, deliverables, timelines, some adoption metrics, and some of the team members. So again, nothing out of the ordinary, I hope, right? Tell us what you're doing, right? Give it a title, describe it to us. What are the goals that you're trying to achieve? Write out the deliverables. What are you going to be actually working on? Are these code updates, features, documentation, what that actually is? The timeline, do write down estimates, but we do realize that timelines can shift, right, with these things. So I think it's very important to note that the point here is that you follow your own timeline. We're not going to restrict you. If you think it's going to take you 3 weeks, or if it's going to take you 4 weeks, you kind of follow your own plan. I think we're fairly flexible on that, as long as there's good intentions and you kind of continue delivering upon what you've set out. The adoption metrics, this is something that is going to be required for milestone 3 and 4. Again, nothing crazy is needed, right? We're not asking for 1 million users, because if that would be achievable via a grant, then everybody would be giving out grants for that. But there needs to be some sort of notion of you thinking about a product market fit beyond just, oh, I'm building cool tech for the sake of the tech, which is not what we're trying to achieve. And the team members, right? Also nothing out of the ordinary. So let's see. I hope I answered the deadlines and time plan question here. Is the milestone plan for one important winners? Or okay, so the milestones are a required part of the submission as you make your submission, if you want to submit to the main tracks, right? So you cannot make a submission and only win the first milestone. You need to compete also on the basis of this. We're also going to cover on Monday what the judging criteria are, and it is actually included in that as well. Or is it only for? Yeah, I hope I answered this. Also, should we submit to all 3 parts? If we can, parts here. Okay. You can apply to Sigma Accelerate if you want, and you can also apply to Sigma Seed right now. You can wait for the for Sigma Sprint to end and do that. You can also choose not to apply for Sigma Accelerate. You can choose not to apply to receive potentially receive venture funding via Sigma Seed. So these 3 components are currently, I call them loosely connected, right? They're not mandatory to follow, but generally highly encouraged to be part of all of these, right? All right, evaluation. So we do have judging criteria with weights and everything for Sigma Sprint. The evaluation criteria here are a bit more loose and a bit less set in stone at this point. So we're going to be looking at, have you completed the form, right? Is it actually complete? Did you submit what we're asking for, or is just a bunch of TBDs, right? If you're going to submit a bunch of TBDs, then probably not very good. Clarity. Are you able to clearly tell us what you're going to be working towards, what you're going to be building? The next 2 are kind of balancing each other: ambition and feasibility, right? You want to be ambitious, you want to push the envelope, but not, oh, I'm the next Elon Musk and I'm going to launch a rocket on blockchain. That's most likely not going to happen. So be feasible, but still try to be ambitious with what you're doing. As with all things in life, I think, I don't know, giving life advice here. Impact, does it make sense? Is it impactful, what you're going to be building over the next 3 milestones? And alignment, does it align with your general project and its vision? So again, I think these are all should kind of make sense. I think it's nothing out of the ordinary. But yeah, I just wanted to lay them out so that it's very clear what we're going to be looking at. We had a question before I go to the tricks and tips. Is there a draft submission form or a template to check what is needed? For the submission to Sigma Sprint, you're going to have a whole submission portal open. Again, we're going to cover some of these things on Monday with Trish on the kickoff call. You're going to be able to access the submission portal and go through it, right? You can kind of make a dummy submission if you want, or just like open a draft submission and go through it. We don't really have a template right now, as in, what a example could look like. But if you would require that, we're gonna have there's going to be a lot of information in the participation guide, right? So this is not just going to be depending on one presentation. If that is still not enough, we're going to make sure to write something up that even provides more guidance, right? But again, yeah, let us know how it pans out, and if it's not enough, we're here to help you, right? We're essentially here to make you successful. So if you're not receiving the information that you need, we're gonna up your game, up our game. So before we close it and hand it over to any more questions that we might have, I wanted to put in a few tips based on some of our past experience that we've seen both with like hackathons, builder competitions, events in general, grants. It's just like what we've seen over the years. Number one, please follow timelines. It's very sounds very simple, and at its core it is. But sometimes life gets in the way, right? We all understand that. So please prepare. I think the most kind of important timeline to keep in mind here is November 3rd, which is the actual submission deadline. So beyond that, again, we're going to be communicating with you, and everything should happen fairly smoothly. But generally, keep in mind that we are working on timelines here. Second part is I've given life advice before, so not to like repeat myself, but try to be ambitious, but make it feasible, right? I think we're all curious and interested in what you're going to build. Make sure you're ambitious. Sell us on the vision as well, but make it feasible enough to be able to actually build it. Number three, over communicate, and this goes for quite a few aspects actually. Even stuff like this call, right? Thank you very much for everybody who's asking questions, making me and Pauline go into all of these details. Like, let's make sure that we're all over communicating. If something's not clear, let us know. We're gonna get back to you, and we're gonna resolve some of these problems. Once you receive, once you become a winner, once you win, and we establish comms channels with you, please make sure that you're over communicating how you're doing, how is everything going, do you need help, do you need support? But if we're not in the loop, we cannot provide assistance there. If you need help with submissions, if you need to, if you need maybe Pauline to help you with something on the technical side, please make sure to reach out to us, right? We're here to make your life easier. But again, we need to receive this communication, otherwise we're not able to know what when something's not okay. Number four, generally playing into the overarching theme here, we are trying to set stuff up for a longer term. And I think if you guys come in and build something with the intention of building it over a longer period of time, I think it's going to be worthwhile, and it's going to make a lot more sense than just kind of repeatedly building these short-term projects, which might be very nice, might be very cool, but ultimately doesn't add that much value to everybody. So longer-term thinking is definitely better than just a short-term project over the next 2-3 days. And number five, it's good intentions. I think, Pauline, you mentioned this earlier on. If you approach things with good intentions, again, we're here to help. We're here to make everybody's life easier. And we're, this is a bumpy road. Not everything is gonna fall into place probably. So as long as we're all here with good intentions, I think everything should work out fine. Again, giving life advice, I don't know. That is wasn't my intention, but here we are, I guess. So, any questions? I'm not sure if this is the right session to ask this question, but speaking of over communication, will there be any kind of office hours during the hackathon? Yes. So if you go into your participation guide, you should be able to scroll down to the schedule. The schedule also contains office hours. They are scheduled for the second and third week, if I'm not mistaken, of the event, just because, first week we're going to have sponsor sessions. Now we have all of these sessions, so we cannot cram more into a week than we are. So second and third week should have office hours. If you require support, technical support, maybe you're not sure, something's not working with the event, you're not sure what happens, you can always feel free to reach out to us. On Monday we're going to go through some of the mentors. You should also have access to this information on the participation guide, so mentors should be fairly available to you as well, if you need to troubleshoot something on the technical side. So I hope this answers your question. We're kind of going for a mix between mentor support and office hours, synchronous, asynchronous, but yeah, always available if you need us beyond that as well. So yeah, maybe Pauline, you and I can continue chatting if something comes up. We can. Yeah, there you go. So Pauline,
Yeah.
any words of wisdom from you?
Wisdom. I don't give life advice generally. I'm not like you, Urban. But is the help desk good place for technical? Yeah. So you will have a bunch of mentors. We also, so you have mentor for Wormhole. I think we are in total 4 of us. But also we have mentors from the chain, like from Sui, and there's also, like, if you need from Solana.
Solana and Front Circle, yeah.
So it really depends. It really depends what you need help with. A few things to keep in mind when you ask question. It's much easier for us to have code. So we do also the technical support on Discord, and it's very hard when someone says, "Oh, my transaction is stuck. Do I need to redeem? Why is it not going to the next step?" It can be a million things, right? So it's much better when you come to us and you have a question. You show us, I don't know, your config file, your file. What is your error log from your terminal? Any sort of code is very, very appreciated by us, because you have to understand that we jump in the code of many people, and we see that all day long. So we don't have the context, right? We don't know what you're building. We don't know what stage you are. So when you reach out to a mentor in general, it's very important that you state what you're trying to achieve, what step you're stuck in, and please send us the code as much as you can. Otherwise, can we submit in multiple tracks? Solana, Sui, Circle. Will you win in only one? That's a question for you, I think, Urban.
Yeah. The tracks are composable, so you can submit in all of the tracks, in all of the sponsored tracks, and obviously for the main track as well. In theory, you can win in all of them, right? You can win first place in Solana, in Circle, and one of the main tracks. I don't know how feasible that's going to be given the competition and the amount of signups that we've seen and so on. But in theory, yes, that is kind of the purpose of it, right? Because, like I said, Wormhole's purpose is connecting different ecosystems, different blockchains, right? So it wouldn't make a lot of sense if we wouldn't give people the option to win when they build something across multiple ecosystems, right? So yes, you can absolutely win in more than one of those. And yeah, Pauline, what you mentioned. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we have a very nice forum set up on Discord in the help desk, so that makes Pauline's life a lot easier as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So, for instance, when you ask the question, that's another tip, because I hang in a few technical Discord forum now. I think because due to the nature of this hackathon, you could, for instance, let's say you are stuck in a way that you make a transaction from, I don't know, Solana to Arbitrum, okay? But your problem is maybe something that is happening on the EVM side. I don't know. So it's very important that when you write your question, you can highlight which ecosystem you have an issue with. Because, for instance, Evgeny, the other DevRel, he's very good with Solana, right? So it's much easier for him to jump in as soon as he sees a Solana question. I mean, to be honest, at this point, I don't really bother because it's very good. But you know, or if you have, like, for instance, a SUI question, it's good that we can straight away, like, send it or tag someone that is better with the SUI move, you know. So it's also, if you want, basically, if you, and another thing to remember is that we all in different time zone, right? So maybe you will get a question, and if you are west coast of the US, it might be hard to get an answer if it's very late for you, because, you know, Europe is not awake yet. So keep in mind that we try to get back to you as soon as we can, but sometimes yes, there's the time zone. 22 days for a new project is kind of a tight deadline. How do you prioritize of a working product over a good presentation? And that's a good question. That, well, 22 days is not so bad, because you could get 48 hours in a regular hackathon. So actually it's a lot more. But I think, and this is what I've seen in very short hackathon as well, people spend a lot of time on, like, I mean, not that the presentation does not matter. That's not what I mean. Like, obviously the presentation matter, but that's not where you start, right? So first you really try to, and it's very important that if you don't build all your feature, it doesn't matter, because it's a proof of concept, right? If you start from scratch, as I said before, and I think it's a really good thing that we don't judge project who are in the existing project and new project the same way. If you are submitting for a brand new project, I know you built this in 22 days, right? So there's no way that I am gonna expect like the most awesome UX possible, because that is hard, right? Like, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of, like, probably infrastructure problem, and what you want is to make it work. I'm not saying you should not have a good front end, but you should have, okay, maybe one main feature and a supporting feature, and then, you know, you can mock it. Like, you can have it in the front end and there is actually nothing happening. There's actually no function, but I can see it on the front end. I know it's not built. That's okay, because it is from from scratch, right? So I'm not expecting everything to look perfect. Now, if you start on an existing project and you tell me we've built this for 6 months, and the UI look like you started yesterday, it's another problem, right? Like, maybe the judgment will be a bit different. We'll go a bit more, we will expect a bit more of a UX, for instance, if you are on an existing project. So I think the way you can prioritize is that, as Omji explained yesterday, we need to understand quickly what your product does and what is your main feature and what is your main prop there. Then, of course, when you're going to pitch, you just have to, it's a bit like when you want to buy a house and the house doesn't look great, but, you know, you can picture yourself in the house once, you know, everything is painted and your couch is there. That's okay, but you can see what the house is going to look like, right? Potentially the wall are going to be the same, even if it looks nicer inside. It's the same here, okay? So we will see the potential, even though it is not perfect, if it's a proof of concept, right? So prioritize main feature, and prioritize to pitch it in a way that you really want to show what is the added value here. And then, okay, if your connection to a third wallet, because you only did the EVM wallet and you didn't do with Phantom, that's okay. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I think I would focus more on that.
Maybe
Okay, cool.
one thing that I would add is, you're also not necessarily building this by yourself, right? So maybe this is a good point where you should look for a non-technical co-founder, or, you know, somebody who works with you on the non-technical side, that can spin up these things easier and not distract you from away from building, right? So
Oh, yeah.
this is honestly, your question is the epitome of every technical startup. Pretty much every tech
Oh, yeah,
startup
yeah,
struggles with
yeah.
how do you make that balance between just building the product versus talking about the product. Right? It's like,
Mm,
these are very, very different skills, but extremely complementary. So I would
mm,
say if you're in a position where maybe you're just really good on the tech, but just do not want to communicate to the outside world. Just you're not good at, I don't know, design or these things. Maybe it's time to look for a person that can work with you on these things, right?
mm.
Because it again,
You know,
this is
100%.
very common.
Yeah, no, and in Berlin Hackathon, I mean, when you team up with, if there is one person in the team that is like the project manager, I mean, in the last 3 hours, this person is so important because like all the bugs arrive, right? Like this is where the shit hit the fan, basically. And you have at least one person that's been working on your presentation. And so when you finally submit at the last minute, of course, then you have all this part of like you have this part of the job that is handled by someone that has been working on it, because what you often see, and I'm talking this kind of a situation is for 48 hours hackathon, right? But often you have teams of like really good dev, and nobody wants to take care of that part. Nobody really wants, as Urban said, nobody is kind of like anticipating the fact that this is going to be a quite important part of it. And then at the last minute they try to do a pitch or something, and I mean sometimes it is okay, but sometimes one has to stop coding to do this. So I would strongly recommend, okay, if you have, let's say, to talk in like proper time frame, I think by the last week you should, if you haven't had a person that is more in charge of doing this, one of the developer has to start pitching it and training itself on presenting it. Don't wait the last day. Like honestly, if there is any problem technically, you're not going to be able to do both, right? So you might have some bug to fix at the last minute, and then you will prioritize that and you will end up with no pitch deck, and that will be a bad situation. So I think by the last week, probably before is better if you want to have feedback, but at least on the last week you should really get down to it and practice.
Yeah. I love the questions. It's just so clear
Hmm.
what early stage founders go through, and we've seen this many times play out. So
Mm, yeah. And
cool.
yeah, I think we covered most of the things. I'm trying to think about something else, but I think we will go over it a few times during that. And again, if you have any other question, or even if you don't, I think sometimes what is very hard for me is to anticipate the not the milestone, but more the timeline over the milestone. So it's very difficult to see exactly what your final product is going to be at the end of 22 days. And so this like what you hope for and what you're going to deliver. That's always something that, bit of a reality check. But it's okay to, as you said, the Urban, to have realistic expectation. But I think sometimes it's very hard to anticipate and to estimate the time you might need for certain feature, right? So yeah, you're gonna have a few coffee for sure. But I think it's important that you can try and you iterate over quite quickly. When you see you do a feature and you realize, oh my god, this has taken us so long the first time. It's very important you it's better to, what I want to say is that it's better you don't overestimate what you can deliver. That is always better. Like you have to think that it's going to take longer than what you think it is, because many things can happen in the middle. And you could be, I don't know, sick for 2 days, and then that's going to delay anyway. So I think it's good to be realistic, but I think if you have a tendency to believe you can do things much faster, then you know sometimes it can be a bit of a learning curve. But yeah, I would say
That,
that.
Pauline, that sounds like life advice from you.
Oh no, this is workout advice maybe.
Work advice. So we've got one more
Um,
question in there. Will there be presentation or just sending over a pitch deck? So we do not have a demo day scheduled in, at least for now. We do have, as part of the submission requirements, not just a pitch deck, but an actual, I think it's a 3 or 5 minute video that you need to send in, which is essentially a pitch. But we're going to cover that on Monday, and I think it should be already available in the participation guide. So you should have all details over there. I keep referring to the participation guide. It's actually a really awesome resource with everything written in it. Might be even a bit daunting to look at it, but everything should be there. But yeah, we currently don't have a demo day, but you should be sending in your pitch deck alongside the video as well. So,
yeah.
all right, maybe it's time to wrap it up since the questions have dried up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being here, for all the awesome questions. Pauline, thank you very much. This was very, very nice. Last slide is thank you. There we go to wrap it up. Yeah.
Have a good day, good afternoon. I don't know. Good evening.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
It is Friday today. If somebody watches it on the replay, might not be anymore. But yeah, have a good weekend. Have a nice Friday. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll see you around.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.